We alkalize to realize the body is the temple, water is the source of life. We breathe in life and then we synthesize. This liquid sun will free your glands and begin to decalcify. Peer through your third eye, see through the lies and give your body what it's missing. We dehydrated, and that's the human condition. But when you clean the body and believe the body, you set yourself up to receive the body. See, it's a sharp knife, that's the water of life. It's like a sword cutting parasites down the sides. It takes a certain kind of faith to know that you're divine. And if it comes from urethra, then it's alkaline. We serve in truth, and it don't matter how weird it really gets. It's the linchpin ascended masters to initiates. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. You had it inside this whole damn time.
Okay, peace and love, family. We got Nyasha and Reuben here. This is a twin flame couple. Now, I consider this to be kind of rare because you do not, you don't just buck into a couple that feels like, like the great work that they're doing. And it almost seems like, it takes so much self-reflection and inner healing to even experience this type of love, to even maintain it, So This is the Alkalize to Realize talk show, and we're just gonna get right into it. So I'm so grateful to have you guys today. Just give me a story on just how you guys met, man.
Wow. We'll try. It's always hard to explain. The first time we became aware of each other was in a reggae dance. It was in Channel 1 sound system here in London. So it was Ethiopian themed. It was Rasta vibes. Everyone was chanting to the Most High. It was a spiritual environment, and we were both tuning into Creator in that space. The way we actually even ended up crossing energies was because she had come to the dance with someone who I knew prior to meeting her, and just by that interaction, we ended up speaking to each other and sharing some energy, and when we spoke, we just felt some initial resonance, and she had just told me she had just come back from like a sound healing sound healing retreat, learning about training and learning deeper about like sound healing and that sort of thing, and mantra and like devotional songs. I'm not sure if you know what that is. I was like, yeah, mantra, like I know about that. I just come back from India, like me and my friends, we chant mantra all the time, so it was a bit like, oh, okay, that's interesting, something that was like aligned in that way. Then we just said, yeah, like where are you living at the moment? And I said I live in a place called Brockley in southeast London.
That's where I grew up, and I was about to move back there at the time. But I was previously about to move back, and then I temporarily like realigned with my ex, but I was on the way out of that relationship. So I was like, I had a feeling of like, oh, I'm meant to be moving back to Brockley now, but somehow I'm like, oh, I was about to move back, but I'm not moving there, and it just felt like, And then like a couple of weeks later, I actually ended up, finishing that karmic relationship, which was, helped me to do a lot of inner healing and a lot of my work, and I really shifted through that journey. And then I moved back, and then I texted Reuben like, oh, guess what? I moved back to Brockley, and I was like, I thought it had been like, a bit of a difficult breakup, and I was sort of processing, and he was like, oh, I feel you, and he was like, let's meet up tomorrow morning, and let's like just like chant and drum, and we can do some releasing, and I was like, cool. So we just ended up meeting up the day after I moved back. And then the morning turned into a whole day, and we ended up having a mushroom ceremony. We were doing chakra toning, we were just sharing all this consciousness, and energy was crazy. We were creating this vortex, and suddenly like we were talking about like instant manifestation, and then suddenly like our friend Antama, who's like amazing kind of being who spreads all light through mantra, and our other friend Daryl, they just like walked up to us in the park. We're just like, wow. And then we end up going with them and doing like some music videos, and then went to some jams. Like this whole energy vortex between us just opened up. And turns out like I'd known his cousin for like 10 years. I met him like 10 years ago, and I even met his brother. And one time before I my awakening when I was working at BBC and I was working in radio and music. I remember I walked past him and his brother busking like on the kind of street corner by the tube, and I remember being like, wow, like these two young, you know, black boys that are really taking it seriously, spreading this consciousness. I was like, I felt it, but I wasn't fully imagined like go and connect yet then. So yeah, it was just like beautifully aligned. When he was in India, he met like some of my close friends that I just sort of recently started really like sharing with and connecting with. So there was just so much synchronicity and so much alignment, and yeah, it was just like everything kind of fell into place, and like we just both realized like, you know, wow, like, you know, because I had my previous partner, I thought he was my twin, but he was a false twin. But it was definitely the journey to meeting Reuben, you know, it was all very, very much connected. And you know, the beauty of it is, you know, we ended up, so me and that ex, you know, we weren't able to leave with love, even that's what I wanted. He wasn't in the space for that. He was like kind of very sad about the breakup and stuff, and so we didn't get closure. Me and Reuben ended up meeting, and then we got together and we ended up working together, and all this energy opened up like super quickly, and we ended up going to India together, traveling for like 5 months. And yeah, it's just the maddest thing happened after we found out that I was pregnant. You know, I was talking a lot about my ex at that time because he had a kid when he was 24, which was when Reuben would be, you know, having a kid at 24, and we were like, I was just like, he talked to me a lot about having a child unexpectedly and the magic and beauty of that. So he was sort of in our field a bit. And then we went to, you know, some place in Pushkar, and we've been traveling all over India, you know, and we were just like out late one night, just in flow. We were like at this crystal shop looking at all these crystals, just spending time with them and just moving through the streets, like it was dark and everything. And then we walked past someone and I lock eyes with him, and I'm like, my heart's beating. I'm like, that was my ex, you know, like in India, like, and I'm like,
in a tiny little place,
you know, like billions of people, like, you know what I mean? And like, he's definitely not meant to be in India from my knowledge, you know. And we carried on walking a bit, and I was like, I think that was my ex. And I was like, we have to go back, you know. And I was like, if it's him, and I clocked it to him, like, then we just walked straight up to him, and I was like, oh my god. He's like, this is awkward. I was like, no, this is like divinely aligned. We're meant to like give love, and this is an opportunity for healing, you know. And it turns out I'd come to him in his dreams 2 nights before and told him that I was happy now, and it kind of gave some closure to him, and we ended up having all this healing, and Reuben was there.
We were at dinner together.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And then, you know, he was one of the first people I told I was pregnant, and then he ended up helping us out. So we're actually living in, you know, he had to end up being the person who gave us the house that we're living in. So we're now living in my ex's like old house, which is so it's like this beautiful calming, you know, because we bumped into him in India. So it's like all this like, you know, divine alignment. Obviously, you know, that energy works for everything. But yeah, there's just so much magic around it all. And before we met each other, we'd both been on our deep inner journeys of self-healing, and like been through a lot of like really heavy kind of dense, you know, relationship kind of lessons and stuff, and, you know, healing our own like codependency, our like low self-worth, deep insecurities, like so much mirroring as well, like ancestral patterns and you know, a lot of our family karma. And yeah, so it was just like, you know, we both had done the work to get to a space where we were ready to meet and then deepen in that work together, you know. So yeah, it was just such a beautiful confirmation of when you know, are in alignment with, you know, your own self-love and love for others, and you know, you listen to your intuition and make steps that are aligned with that, and trust, you know, the right things come to you, you know, like, and the magic that can come is like so much more than you can even conceive of, or, you know, like, you know, you can be aware of from your perspective and sense of what's possible. So yeah, it was beautiful.
Literally, like,
I love the passion.
When we met each other, it was full like listening to yourself, like it was like listening to yourself. The consciousness that was coming out from Nyasha was, it sounded like all the revelation that I'd been getting from spirit just like prior to meeting her, you know. So it was like I can't just talk about this stuff anymore. Like I have someone who's gonna hold me accountable for that. And that was man. That was
That's awesome, man, to have someone now hold you accountable and you actually become the things you learned. Because you notice that, you know, in your journey, you fall in love with the esoteric lingo, you know, you know it, but, you know, it gets hard because, you know, you be around so much people that don't really see the importance of these things. So to actually have a bond with someone and it's just as important to her, like, that is a great gift, man. I really love the passion too, Nyasha, as you were speaking about it, because, you know, when I was on your website, y'all use the interesting way to describe a lot of relationships. It's called trauma bonding, you see? And it's interesting because if you never really do that self-reflection or those trapped emotions, that trauma, you can't really, I don't know, it's like a certain plateau you hit, you know what I mean? But to open up and to actually experience unconditional love, right? That's so. Y'all, you say unconditional love. What's that to y'all? Like when you say when you look at his eyes, you look at her eyes. You know, do you really feel that unconditional love?
Definitely, like under our human layers, under our conditioned layers of reality, the unconditional love is there. We're not always in a state of unconditional love. Of course, we live in this 3D reality, and we have to always be working through those things, you know. But tuning into that energy is tuning into the energy of Creator through another, you know. And I had started coming to that realization before meeting Nyasha. I realized everything is the power of creation. So in every reflection I was meeting, whether that's a person, whether that's an experience, whether that's a tree, whether that's the floor, like I was making that connection, you know, to everything being divinely orchestrated, understanding that you can communicate with spirit through everything, and you're also part of that, not separate from that. You know, breaking down the illusion of separation. Like unconditional love is one of those things again that we love to talk about, and the idea of it is amazing. But in our human self, that is confined to this dense reality. That's a hard thing to embody at all times. We can feel aspects of that, you know, and we have parts of that mirrored to us in our life, but yeah, it's a hard thing to get to, and we both acknowledge that as well. Like in relationships, the way that we have relationships with romantic people, we've been there as well. We're not saying we're in any higher state, but we're saying when you don't work on those deeper insecurities or even acknowledge them, when you don't even acknowledge them, it becomes completely unconscious. And then when you are in relationships, the relationship is more like a band-aid to your wounds instead of actually like addressing the wound, like tending to the wounds and allowing you to elevate in a relationship, whether that's romantic or just with like a family member or a friend. It's like, is the relationship in a space where you can move upwards instead of just going back and forth and kind of holding in one space? You know, that's what we've realized our relationship is about. And then of course, the more we work on that within ourselves, we can extend that outwards. So it's not like, because that was when we first met and we had that day in the park and we had all this exchange, we literally said like, this energy is not meant to be contained between us. It's not something for us to be in this like bubble and illusion of like, we need to cultivate it and spread it outwards, you know. And that's what we started to do, you know. It was literally we spent 2 weeks just chilling, not really doing much, like kind of, you know, monging around. Then we're like, no, we've got to channel this energy. Then we just burst into it and started like, you know, doing little bits of events and thinking about how we can expand on our work and just tuning into what that energy was and how it wanted to manifest through us.
I mean, for me, like unconditional love is the love of God. You know, it's the love which, regardless of, you know, who you are, what expression of creation energy you are, and how you work with that, you know, that process of being consciousness and or matter in the spirit and form, you have that, you know, you're loved unconditionally, you're accepted unconditionally, whether you embrace your path of healing and expansion or whether you don't, you know, like you're still loved, you know, you still deserve complete compassion, you're still whole, you're never separate from anything, you know, or anyone, you know, that might perceive you to be, you know, different to them. Or so for me, like unconditional love is like, you know, it's the highest form of love. It's the form of love which we're all aspiring to, and we're on a journey towards embodying that, you know. And so it's for me, it's about like action. Like, what does it look like to connect to that love and to, you know, to embody it in your actions towards, you know, all of life, you know. And that's towards yourself, towards other reflections, towards, you know, the earth, towards, you know, the energy of space, you know, towards the non-physical realm as well. You know, it's like sending love into everything in your thoughts and your words, you know. In like, it's not just about like what you say about someone, it's what you think about them, you know. It's the things that are just internal. It's your
that's true. It's internal, because you could bring that dense energetic feel around them. And you know, let me ask you this: you guys y'all daily cultivators, right? Y'all meditate together. Do y'all do that? Like, are you like daily meditators? Because I see that I had an interesting question, because you guys talked about channeling new perspectives and practices. Like, y'all big into shadow work, which is really the foundation. You know, I feel like a lot of people, we could read a few books and we could come off intelligent. We could sound spiritual. You know, you could put on all the nice little gear and, you know, have the locks and, you know, but what really makes this real is the shadow work. It's the integrity to do what you say you're gonna do if no one's watching, you see. And that's why it's what I like about the idea, because I'm also in a beautiful relationship as well. I actually just proposed, 2 weeks.
Wow. Congratulations.
So I'm monogamous as well, you see, because I do believe that Montauk Chi said he had a quote, and he's talking about how you could explore a soul many times. It's like a multi-dimensional thing, one soul. But if you jump from woman to woman or man to man, you're only exploring a body. You see?
Wow.
You're not really getting in depth or really learning what sexual cultivation is about. But when you're with one person, see, brother, you see, Nyasha is more than one woman. You know, you got who she was, who she is, and who she'll become. You know, and each woman change sporadically throughout the day. So it's amazing how when you get deep into self, you really start to learn what this, you know, this cultivation or this whole union is all about. And I love how y'all hit home on the site about the shadow work. That's really important. I wanted to ask, you guys talked about healing childhood drama, and I see that there's something called rose breath work. And there's significance to the symbol of the rose in this upcoming event that you guys are having. Boy, I wish I could have been there, but too bad. I'm on the other side of the world in London, and it's the event is well, you talk about the rose frequency, right? And the frequency of 320 hertz. So I just want to ask, like, what's the significance of the rose, and what is it? What is the rose breath work? You don't have to kind of give it all in detail, but like, what, you know, just tell me about it. This is to your next event coming up, actually.
Yeah. So obviously the rose is a powerful symbol of love. A lot of people relate to it, you know, on many different levels of reality, like how you're experiencing, you know, life, whether you're like in a higher state of consciousness or, you know, whatever you're vibrating at. A lot of people recognize that symbol and they relate to it. And obviously it's Valentine's Day, which is a day that's been created, you know, for people to connect a lot. There's a lot of consumption around it. But our intention with this event was to create a space which kind of, you know, can taps into people's desire to be in the energy of love on this day, but also creates a space where it's not about being in the energy of love with another necessarily. It's about being in the energy of love with yourself, and therefore with everyone and all of existence, right? And so obviously people often give roses at Valentine's Day, and roses said to be one of the, you know, it vibrates out of all the plant medicines and plant teachers, it has one of the highest frequencies, which is you know, why people give roses. And the smell of the rose, you know, it can be really healing, and it, you know, it connects you to love ultimately, because it vibrates closer to the frequency of love and unconditional love. So we wanted to weave with the rose. It's a kind of an event that I've been wanting to do for a while. Me and my friend, we used to make tonics, you know, with cacao and rose, and we'd do our own kind of rose immersions, and we'd put rose incense on, and we'd have, you know, rose oil and, like, you know, rose water on our face, and we'd really just be like dancing with the rose, and we'd really feel the alchemy between cacao and the rose, which obviously both vibrate with the frequency of love. And so that was our intention with this event. And you know, with the rose breath work, it was just like, again, like, that's just, we channel a concept for like a way to relate to you know, yourself and to energy and to things in material form, and then we put, like, you know, we had to try to find a name to try and explain what that is, but it's not like, you know, a tangible thing. It's like, this is what you do, you know. For us it's a way of like we're gonna get people to like inhale the scent of the rose, and, you know, be doing conscious breathing, and you know, also using the rose around the body, you know, holding it in different places as you breathe and stuff like that. So it's like really, and also there'll be, you know, rose being infused into the air, so you're kind of getting that sense of immersion through the air element and through the scent of the rose, whilst also holding the rose to the body, you know. And so allowing yourself to consciously breathe with the rose over your heart, with the rose, you know, over your sacral chakra, you know, just like, you know, just exploring, like playing with the rose and the energy of the rose in a kind of a self-embrace and kind of a devotion to self, you know, and to the body temple, you know, using the rose plant as just a catalyst, as an opportunity, a window into that frequency of love, one which has kind of powerful conscious and subconscious you know, associations for people, you know, as well as the frequency of it, which naturally brings people into a state of, you know, openness and connection, you know, to self or to love or to just that blissful feeling, that feeling of if you walk past, you know, a rose bush on the street and you stop to inhale the scent, and it takes you into that blissful moment of presence and sweetness and richness and abundance, you know, like yeah, there's so much beautiful energy within the rose. And so I think, you know, working consciously with plants, like to explore the many different ways that we can invite that energy in and play with the energy, you know, with our different senses, as well as with our consciousness, and allow our own energy centers to merge and dance and kind of co-create with the plant as well. You know, we try and, you know, often, yeah, create new ways of, you know, not new, like we're not trying to be innovative, we're just channeling things that we think would be really exciting and, you know,
It's just
maybe we haven't done before, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Like our last retreat was all about the elements, and we had a day where we were working with each of the elements, and, you know, we just channeled new practices. We were like, okay, you know, these are not things that we've done before, and because they're coming from that pure intention and they are channeled from spirit, they end up being really expansive.
Exactly how they're meant to be, yeah.
And we're going into the unknown with the participants as we hold space and facilitate and also participate in those practices, you know, and that ultimately feels like the truest expression of our soul, because it's us allowing our own vessels and our own connection to spirit to bring through whatever's meant to come through us in the perfect way.
Yes, right.
And not feeling like we need to know how to do things, and just being like understanding that we know how to do everything we're here to do, you know, and like there are other tools or things that can help us to remember our knowing and connect to our own capacity to tune into what is right and what's meant to come through us. But there's no rule book that's more right for us than us and our own heart and our own inner guidance, you know. So yeah, that's what comes up for me when you ask about.
I liked the words you use, because, you know, I'm also a daily meditator as well. I like moving meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong. I also sit still at night. And one thing you realize a lot in this work, the words like allow, right? Surrender, or allow the cosmic energy, the higher light, to come within and do the work. And you realize, I only could imagine a twin flame, right? But you start to magnetize and pull things together, you see? And sometimes I feel like it's the light that does most of the work, you know, I just kind of be the catalyst or the spokesperson. Because, you know, I do have a school as well. It's online. And the first thing I say is, look, I'm not really the teacher. I'm the spokesperson, you see?
That's it.
And what we're going to do is we're going to show you ways, or at least give you a platform, and then, you know, you figure out your way along the way, and to access your own intuition, you see?
Yeah.
Because that's really what the true teacher is. It's internal. So we're really just kind of, again, just oracles or spokespersons. And I see you two guys as beautiful oracles. And at the same time, I'm really interested in, because there is a method. I know there's certain breathwork exercises, like a holotrophic breathwork, right? Where, you know, you breathe in and out the mouth continuously. And I know that psychotherapists use this breathwork for people to release people from trauma. And he even had a brother here in Bahamas. He did the breathwork, and he even remembered the trauma from circumcision.
Wow.
Another brother that didn't like his aunt. He don't know why he hated his aunt, but he don't like her. He did the breath work, and at a very early age, he was actually molested, but he couldn't consciously remember it. So, you know, the thing is with shadow work, it's like when you're able to access the Akashic records through the breath, and, you know, access the subconscious that's in you, you really start to remove blockages. So just a question is, when you're talking to, like, you know, a client, a friend, or trying to help them out, what do you think are really good methods for helping someone, you know, for the listeners here, even if they want to come to your consultation, right? What are the methods in helping someone really start to get past that trauma? Because they may not be thinking about it. And we have this thing where, because we don't think about it, because we feel like we're put together, we look good, that we're actually okay, you know? So how can you show someone that they're building on a weak foundation? They look good, they may be speaking the lingo, but what is a way for you to tell them, like, come, grasshopper. Let me show you something. You know.
But I mean, there's loads of ways to go into that. Of course, it depends on the person and what their level of consciousness is at.
Right.
But the way I see it is, what are your perceived resistances? So what is it that brings up aversion within you? That when you start to look at a certain topic, what is it that comes up in you and makes you feel a certain way? Usually that is a pathway to take you down some of that trauma, whether you're conscious of what it is, or usually we're not, because a lot of it is also ancestral. It's passed down through like the timeline. Like, it might be things that you weren't told as a child, or that your parents were too ashamed to tell you, or or maybe you don't have a direct connection to even your parents, so it's still all like buried under there. To me, really, the way we help clients with that is on our course as well. Our online course, one of our first week is building blocks. So it's like, what are the blocks the perceived blocks you feel in your way, which block you from connecting to spirit? And by looking at those blocks, you can see how you can build something out of that, and that creates a path for you to start going down those things, without an identity of victimhood, or like the woundology of like your being. It's like, because as 3D beings, we carry a lot of collective shame around these sorts of things, and we want to be able to hold it together, because we feel like if we break down, look into these things, then we're seen as weak. That's a projection that the collective have. So a way that that's helped me, and I know that's helped other people, is not identifying with those things and allowing to see it as, it's part of you, but it's not you. It's not, that doesn't identify who you are. You're much more than that. It's just something that's happened to you, which has given you experience to actually help you ascend. Yeah, it's the everything's to help you ascend. That's how we perceive it. Everything is a chance for you to elevate your consciousness and to grow. And when you can see that, you start to see that everything is divinely orchestrated. And that questions all of our human ideas of polarities and duality, and what that really means, and why there's good and bad, and allows you to come to more of a cosmic perspective on things, and kind of see the importance of yourself, but also see how you're not very important, and just kind of humble some of those things which can be very identified with the we call it the spiritual ego, because there are a lot of people who have profound wisdom, like they've done deep studying, and you're listening to me be like, right, it'll be feeding you, but you can feel it's not coming from an embodied or pure place, and that's when it's harder to connect to it. That's like, you have the guru complexes. You have people who have been, they have like God realization, and they realize they're a part of God, and then they have the illusion that they are God. And not to say you're not God, but you're not you're part of something big in yourself.
You're not the absolute.
And that's one of the illusions that happens on the spiritual path a lot. And there is, not unfortunately, but there's a lot of illusion in the spiritual realms of being purely immersed in the light and false connection to spirit. I mean, everything is spirit, but until you work through the conditioned layers of reality, you'll constantly be working within the realms of the parts of yourself that haven't worked through those places. So we'll be speaking from our insecurities, we'll be speaking from our wounds, we'll be speaking from unhealed trauma. So we a lot in our work, we try and make people really reflect on not living in the light lie, understanding that like light comes from the dark. You have to go to the underworld first, then move. There's two ends of there's different ends to the spectrum all the time, and you don't want to allow yourself to play out the illusion again, because you just pass it on to the next generation and the people who you interact with.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's it coming from? When you're sharing energy with people, where is it coming from? The need to express yourself, or is it coming from a genuine embodiment of oneness, and realizing you're just speaking to yourself, and the only reason that it's coming out of you is because you're actually reflecting deeper within yourself to alchemize with that reflection of you, like you're a reflection of us. We're like nurturing that divine seed within us to elevate that consciousness. It's where's it coming from? Sometimes you feel people project their reality onto you, and it doesn't come from the most authentic place, and it can feel a bit dense and heavy, because of where the energy is coming from. It could be someone that doesn't have loads of embodied spiritual knowledge at all, but they're connected to their heart, and just that purity itself can open up that space. We're like children, they obviously are deeply, profoundly connected to spirit, but not in a logical way, not in a
Not like I read books way.
Yeah, not in a self-identified way of like being a spiritual being and like, you know, holding that kind of identity and that spiritual ego, which also creates more separation. It's just they're just fresh from source, you know. That those layers haven't been put upon them yet, so it's easy to connect to that oneness presence in like a child, you know. And I feel like that's what we're all trying to do as we get older. We're trying to get back to that pure state, like the childlike state, you know, and tune into that inner child.
You know,
yeah.
and they
So
say
for
that.
me,
You know, go ahead.
Yeah.
well, I was just going to answer your question as well.
All right.
I would say like it starts with being, you know, radically honest about where you are, and so that means like being really learning how to tune in to like, how do I actually feel? Like, do I actually feel happy? Like in my interactions with people in my relationships, do they feel like they're, you know, nourishing? Like, am I actually sending out energy that feels good, or like am I putting myself in environments that don't feel good? And that curiosity of like, okay, why? What is leading to this experience? You know, what part of me is, you know, is contributing to the energy and to the experience that I'm having in this moment, and how can I activate my power as a conscious creator to start to, you know, shift that, you know, through the work that I'm doing to look within me. And I would often start with sharing if somebody really was completely in a you know, kind of not awake to their own you know, spiritual nature and their own journey like as a soul. I'd start to explain to them about the unconscious and how 90% of our thoughts, emotions and behaviors come from our unconscious mind, and how you know, we you know, we're the product of, you know, our parents and their unhealed traumas. And, you know, I'd also break down that, you know, the word trauma, because for a lot of people that's kind of like, oh, no, I'm not traumatized, you know. I'd be like, you know, that's just something which is
they think because they had a good childhood, you know,
to leave an imprint which has contracted your being, you know, and fragmented you, you know, a fragmented aspect of yourself into the unconscious. So a part of you becomes frozen in that experience unconsciously, so you wouldn't realize what you're carrying. And it's just, and I'd always use myself as an example. I'd say, like, I used to think, you know, I was in a lot of illusion. I thought I had what I, you know, had the job thought I wanted. I was in all these art collectives. I had all the friends I thought I wanted. I was busy all the time doing all the stuff that I thought I was interested in. And I just come to a point where I was like, okay, I got all the things I thought I wanted, and deep down I'm still not happy, you know. And I had to be honest with myself, and then say I'm willing to let go of all this to find out what it is that I'm really seeking, you know. And I feel that all people who are, you know, not living in alignment with their heart's truth and their soul essence on some level feel that, you know, it just takes so much bravery to face up to that. And some people will face up to it, you know, in different ways in their life, and not everyone is meant to necessarily on their soul journey like embrace like the levels of shadow work that we have chosen to embrace, as, you know, for our soul path, you know. But everyone, I think, is on a journey of connecting more deeply to love, and connecting more deeply to their true nature in whatever way they're able to access and understand what that is in this lifetime. So yeah, I would just sort of start to help people to connect to themselves more and connect to compassion. You know, compassion is a word that like most people understand as, you know, something we should aspire to, but they don't necessarily look at how they're not aligned with that within themselves. So like obviously compassion is just, you know, basically is a form of unconditional love, you know, the highest form of compassion, like an embodied understanding and expression of that energy. So yeah, those are kind of ways I feel are like, you know, good to kind of help bring people into like, well, are you being compassionate to yourself in the way that you talk about yourself, you know, the way that you talk about others, you know, are you speaking, are you acting in ways that are loving to yourself, or are you being neglecting to yourself? You know, do you truly like honor all aspects of yourself? You know, do you honor your body? Do you honor, you know, your emotions? You know, like, I mean, yeah, obviously honor your spirit too, but not everyone is ready for that reflection or to relate to themselves in that way. So yeah, and I think one thing that I feel, yeah, especially I've mentioned before, but really helps is just to talk about my own journey and the things that I've worked through, where I was before, and how I can relate to where other people might be now. It's like, okay, I've been there. Yeah, I totally understand where you're at. Like, totally understand that type of, you know, those desires or that kind of seeking, and this is where I found that those things came from within me, and this is what I've been able to uncover within myself through inner work and through self-healing, and through starting to become more conscious of, you know, the way I'm experiencing life and how I'm contributing to that, and how I can change that through my intention and through the energy I allow, you know, out and in, and through, you know, filling up my own cup instead of just giving to others. And, you know, so I feel like my own unconsciousness is like a real key for others, and it becomes a gateway to help them look into their own unconscious and feel safe to do that, and not judge themselves for their own shadow and you know, how they're out of alignment.
You know, being judging ourselves, you know, a lot, we tend to be unforgiving and judge ourselves, and think that could somehow, you know, go away. And like you say, it doesn't, it don't mean you have to be like trauma, like, oh, you've been abandoned on the side of the street. Like people think because, you know, even if you lived a relatively decent life on earth, right? Like to the outside, still, like you said, and y'all did a good job, the imprints that could be inside you, that, and Reuben, you said it beautifully when you said that they ain't really projecting from like the core of who they are. They're projecting, and we tend to filter from trauma or filter from a limited understanding, you see? And, you know, it's really good how y'all broke that down. And one thing I'd like to say to you, Reuben, it's because me being in the same position in a relationship, one thing that Nyasha will do is keep you grounded, because if you as a young man, all right, and let's say that we're fairly handsome, right? And, you know, when you start posting stuff online, you know, you start, basically you're pretty intelligent, right? And you could inspire people. You know, a lot of women on social media tend to, you know, it's a lot of women that tend to ask questions. And what happens is sometimes is, you know, there are women out there that say that in the conscious community that there are men that are like predators, right? And they like to use the spiritual knowledge to basically get sex. Now, I know a few brothers that, and it didn't really start like that. You see, it didn't start, they may have started from a good place. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
when all these girls, them hitting you up, asking you questions, and they're kind of stroking your ego a bit, you know, they tend to fall to the, you know, they tend to fall from where the original intention was. So I just, it's, you have some people that try to say monogamy is unnatural, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe the way we try to possess each other, but in the way that y'all live, having a spiritual purpose. See, that's how you sustain like a relationship. Like y'all have this purpose to help enlighten humanity, or at least.
It's not about us. It's not about us. Like
No, it's not. And that's what you say. It ain't really about us. It's almost like the light or something higher than us brought us together. And it ain't about the romanticism, you know, like the Hollywood love, where, you know, it's about the sex, the money, the comfort, you know, and then you do this, you do that. But y'all seem to live in service, you know. That's key. That's really key to sustain. And you know, where boredom doesn't hit, well, what is there to get bored about when you live in service to others, especially doing these events, and how in depth both of you are, you know, when you talk about the multi-dimensional nature of the human, you see? So Reuben, it's a beautiful thing. And the same, Nyasha, for you, you know, that both of y'all could keep each other grounded. And I'm so interested in y'all to, like, let me ask y'all this, man. Like, what y'all think of diet, man? Like, what's your perspective on diet? You know, is it y'all into the fruitarian, vegan, you know, like, are y'all like me where you feel dense, then you eat fruits? Or, you know, like, what's your perspective, like, for both of y'all, like, when it comes to diet corresponding to shadow work?
Yeah, well, we realized basically you don't want labels involved with diet, and also diet is not just food.
True.
Diet is the life. Diet is everything you consume. Like, you know, it's water. It's what water are you drinking? Like, what water are you putting into your body? That's first and foremost. You know, I mean, I guess I would. In previous years of my life, I would identify as a vegan, but then I realized that also creates separation within.
Yeah, I did the same thing, by the way. I don't label. I took the label off.
Yeah, there's no need to limit us. Like we can have preferences, right? And you do what intuitively feels right for us. As our consciousness constantly expands, that might change. So it's like a label is just going to create a contraction, and it's just going to create attachment to the identity that you might build around that label. So we just try to be, try to be open. We try to, like, you know,
learn more all the time.
You know, we don't ever judge ourselves for how we've been in the past and how we are now. Like, you know, we try and feel, okay, is this, you know, what's kind of underneath our desire or for anything, and, you know, like, just constantly moving towards, you know, more self-love in our choices, more conscious in our choices, you know, like, and for us there's a few things that we know, like, are really fundamental, like you know, in the water that we drink. We you know, we distill our water. We don't drink tap water. We vortex the water.
Yeah,
Structure
I'm
it
a
every
distilled
minute.
water drinker too.
Yeah,
Stuff.
and we eat only organic food, you know, like as much as we can, and we, you know, we cook at home, and you know, we just try and really, it's like about honoring what you consume and giving thanks to, like, you know, every aspect, you know, of the energy of creation that's gone into that process of whatever it is that you're consuming, being manifested in front of you in a way that's going to support and nourish you and sustain you. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely used to think, like, when I became, well, I'm not vegan anymore, but when I became like strictly vegan, I was like, this is the only way, there's no other way, you know. And I actually didn't, you know, you do miss out the cosmic perspective of the interconnectedness nature of everything. Like, everything is completely interconnected, and that is actually quite hard to see on the human level, because we see like suffering and separation and war and all these sorts of things, and then we miss the kind of cosmic perspective of death and creation, and how everything like lives with each other, you know. And that's quite a hard concept for people who are very heavy on, like, you know, animal rights and stuff. I'm not saying that everything's correct within like the industries that you know that meat is being processed and stuff, but I'm saying, like, back to the roots of it all, you know, it was like humans honoring this animal and sharing energy in an esoteric way, you know. The animal passes, you know, or the humans kill the animal and they honor the animal and they eat it, you know.
And in the same way, we should honor the plant. Like the animal is not more, you know,
Important
than the plant. Like there should be no separation between those or anything else we consume. You know, like it should be an honoring of anything we consume, and everything that, you know, everything that we consume, it goes back into the earth in one way or another, and everything is being recycled anyway, constantly, right? So like there's never a waste. You know, it's just about consciousness and gratitude. You know, and honoring. You know, like the divine process that is manifest in any form of energy exchange and interchange, that's, you know, allowing us all to be interdependent and support each other in existing and thriving and continuing this process of death and rebirth and over and over again, you know, like in so many different forms and magical ways. And like by the same like kind of understanding, we also feel like, you know, there's no death for the earth. When the star of the earth eventually, you know, comes to its point of transition, that energy will be recycled into a new form, and that consciousness will go on to be expressed in a new form, more expansion as well. So like there's nothing ever ends, you know, like there's always like a new form, a new expression, which, you know, benefits from all of the consciousness that was in the former expression, and then, you know, expands into a new expression, you know, which is you know, more likely to be even more evolved or whatever. So and more aware of what it's, you know, it is. So that's kind of a.
And like we don't eat meat now or anything, or eat, like, you know, eat animal flesh or anything. But like,
but we would never say we'd never do anything.
We're not closed anymore. You know, we realize that to be conscious and aware human beings, we have to be open to changing our consciousness as we evolve. Otherwise, we actually keep ourselves in a limited paradigm. You know. I don't feel cool to eating meat now, you know, or like fish or anything. But if I'm in a certain type of setting, if I feel the alignment, if I feel the purity of the connection to that, then I'm not going to say no. Where once before I would have been very militant and against that, you know, for some of the right reasons, but also for some of you know, reasons that were not from necessarily appropriate. It would be definitely like a judging place, you know. It's like, oh, how can you be like that? How can you
judge people, you know? And you know, a hardcore vegan or hardcore anything, you actually start to place a judgment sometimes on people that do it, and that don't put you in a better place, because this is all about clarity of thought. This ain't about what you think. You know,
and it's so ironic, because people are like they're advocating compassion for animals, but they're not being compassionate to the human either. Like, you know, the compassion should go both ways. Like,
good point.
And those animals eat other animals too, you know, like, and they need like there's no judgment on them for that. Like, you know, like it's like everything is interdependent. Like, you know, so it's just like
you know.
There's no, we can't create blocks to where we allow separation, you know, the illusion of separation to be like something we live by. It's like we have to see that in everything and in all areas. Like, you know, it's in our limited understanding of this earth and our preoccupation with our earthly experience, we can get a bit caught up in like the physical separation that we perceive here, and the hierarchy of, you know, importance of different expressions of energy that we perceive here, but that's all just a reflection of our own illusion, and also a projection of ourself onto often the animals rather than, say, the plants, you know. Like, I remember even early on when I was, you know, I used to identify as vegan too, and one of my partners was like, yeah, but you know, why are the plants less, you know, important than the animals? Like, you know, how can you actually? And I remember at the time being like, yeah, well, actually, I know that you know, from a highest perspective, that they're not, and like there isn't any separation, and there is no reason why it's okay.
Right.
Yeah, the plant is the animal. Like, there's no separation. You know what I mean? Like, straight up, like, even a lot of vegans know that as well. They'll say, like, you know, when
plants have feelings.
Plants have feelings, and also like the animals eat the plants, so you might as well go straight to the plants and eat the animal. Like, it's just like, yep, everything. There's no separation. That's what we want to. I think that's our goal as humanity in this physical reality, is to work through those layers that create separation, put blocks on our consciousness, so we can become in a more ascended state and understand the multidimensional nature of existence, of just experience, of having this experience, you know, and clearing through the blocks to seeing that, and the kind of like, oh, everything's magic when I'm in meditation, but as soon as I'm back in, like, you know, in my day-to-day life, that kind of autopilot comes back on. You know, that's something I want to cultivate more every day, you know, consciously working through that part of us that can take us out of deep presence, you know, which then enlightens our experience that we're having as living beings.
Absolutely. Good job. Now, Reuben, I have a question for you. This may be a bit personal, because I can be real on this show. I'm having a difficult time with semen retention. I really want to get better at tantric sex, right? Obviously, I'm about to get married, so I can't talk, but I want to be celibate. You know, that's not, I don't even want to be celibate now. But let me ask you this, brother. If you do, like, do you guys practice tantric sex, or is that something you're trying to, is it even in thought, or are you trying to, or are you celibate? I don't know.
No, it's definitely in thought, and it's something that we want to explore more, of course, you know. We know that, like, intimacy goes way beyond, like, physical touch. Like, that's straight up. We know that. We just have to get past the primal instincts of us that are so eager to like, you know, to go at it, like, straight up. It's about, semen retention for me is not something I've ever practiced. It's not something I've ever practiced, but I definitely have had people around me who have expressed the importance of that, and it has resonated with me. But it's not something I've practiced or, like, tried.
We've been talking about it recently. I've been saying to him a lot, you need to try that. I know it'll help you to, like, learn to work.
Oh man, brother, that gonna put us on another level. But let me trying. I do the breath work. I breathe. Is this thing called testicle breathing? Okay, where you breathe. Track the PC muscle, you could breathe into your balls, bro. Into your breath. And I try to do it while I'm making love, man. And it's like, I must have got to put earplugs in my ear, because the minute I, like, you know, like, making that beautiful music, you know, doing her mantras and her sounds and me making love, it's like, oh man, it just always fucking happens, man. So I'm trying. Yeah. You know, I know that God is a part of it as a man, because when you ejaculate, the body takes the best parts of you, the best parts of yourselves. It don't think you just having fun. It think you the baby.
It's replicating the DNA.
Right. You so it's like, if you could cycle that up, and the thing is, even like with semen, looking into it, it's like the amino acids, I mean, everything in it is so much more powerful than food, bro. You you ever watch a movie with a rape case, and they have, like, the UV light looking for semen, and it glows in the dark. That's it, man.
I mean, energy, of course, you know, for real.
You know, I know. I figured, you know, I just wanted to ask, because, you know, like, usually, like, when you in that type of relationship, because I am, and, you know, I tell my queen I'm working at it. I did it one time, 4 times in a row, and I was like, hell yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned it, because, you know, we've actually, you know, been exploring more around our sexual intimacy recently, and I've been, like, wanting to deepen in like, tantrically, you know, for a while in our relationship, but you know, I think that there was some unconscious blocks for Reuben, because, like, you know, when you you know, open in those ways to, like, tantric sex, it's ultimately, like, takes you to a much deeper place, and, like, you know, all of your layers come up, like, you know, new layers that you didn't even know were there.
Manifest all kind of things, man.
Yeah, so we've so I've been saying like to Reuben like I want to do that, and he was identifying that he had recently like, hey, I think I have some resistance to that, and so we've been thinking of like ways that and trying to create those scenarios that we can like deepen. Obviously, when you have a child as well, it's even more like, okay, now we really need to like find and preserve that time for that kind of sacred exploration together, in those ways. So
Right.
so yeah, no, like that's just another reflection of where we're at and what we're kind of feeling called to do. To deepen in the alchemy of relationship. It's like such a sacred opportunity if you have a partner and you're kind of consciously relating, and there is that safety of where you can go into those vulnerable spaces, because you don't know what's going to come up, and all your blocks come up, and you need to be able to lovingly be with each other in those spaces in order to deepen in that work. So yeah, it's something that we're really looking forward to, and have been in the process of especially since the start of this year.
And Reuben, because I went a couple of months holding in my seed, and it's the signal of love. And I can speak. I'm a man, so I'm speaking from man perspective. I have never felt that type of like attraction before, because me and my queen, we in like this long distance relationship. So I mean,
okay.
I say, okay, now let me do the semen retention thing now. I'm away from her, so let me just do it, right? And when I met her, when we linked up again after a couple of months, let me tell you something, bro, that attraction, I ain't never felt no love like that, man.
Wow.
I swear to you, I think that as a man, you kind of sell yourself short in the type of the magnetic pull from the woman that you feel, because you're so electrified at the time.
Yeah.
So electrified, bro. And when you look at her, it's like, it's you just want to worship her. You know what I mean? Like, wow, like you're beautiful, and the minute it leaves, don't get me wrong, the love is still sacred, but you feel the signal.
Yeah.
You see? And I say it's a beautiful exploration, because she changes. The higher you raise in frequency, she changes to you. Like and I mean like you would be so attentive, so in tune. The minute she tried to test you, you just shut that right, boy. But it's really, bro, like I could see, I don't know, man, looking at y'all, like the frequency that y'all emit off is so refreshing, because I don't see this at all. And I'm not saying it's not there, but physically, when I go out in my town and stuff like that, I don't see this where a couple is this passionate and this like in tune. You know what I mean? With just the esoterics, with the, not just esoteric, but the actual application of it, because you have people getting together debating all day. Everyone knows something. Being a day and age, you could pull up something and read it. But just to look at the events y'all doing and just the shadow work and all the things y'all talking about, I just want to say I have a high level of respect for that.
Give thanks.
Because we actually really need that. And Reuben, like, you could really be like a role model too, in a sense, like in the future, even when you're talking to you, because I don't know, it seems like marriage and monogamy has this, if you ain't in the right place mentally, man, like some people could feel boxed in while others will feel empowered.
Yeah.
It's a very personal thing. And to show a man that's empowered from being with one woman in the Black community, okay, all right. You know that, because we got all a little baby, we got Kodak Black, we got all these young brothers, because with hip hop, the labels get the young brothers that ain't really had parents or no guidance. They won't sign up an older rapper that's wise. You see?
Yeah.
They want to pay out the young brothers. So you see how that consciousness or that wave from the music, and it's all about sex. Nicki Minaj is all about, everything is just about sex, lust, and just doing it basically like a demon. You have the horns, you see the horn.
Yeah, literally.
On the demon represent us breaking the loop. Where if you hold the semen in, you got the halo, right? The halo around the does the spiritual teacher's head represent you containing and conserving? But when I look at the youth now, and I doing my best to put out some recordings and stuff, it's just we so entrained to break in the loop and not building ourselves energetically, you know? So it's like with both of y'all, looking at y'all, and you too, Nyasha, like, just keep the momentum going, man. Keep the, and just, man, I just love it. I just love it, man. Keep going.
Yeah, it's something we like. We have some friends in our life that are definitely more in a space of thinking that polyamory is more like the way to go, and like the confinements of like, you know, your energy, sharing it. And we just, you know, we just feel like that's just not in alignment for us. And we also, of course, like we work through our attachment to each other. It's not like this is it, and like we're not holding on to each other. Of course, we're here with each other when we go into these spaces, but we know it's not about like, you know, grabbing onto that energy, that like whatever's in alignment will happen. But we're here to we're here to show up to the work with each other, and that's what's gonna allow us to work through these things, you know. And we just, I again agree with what you're saying. It's like, because it's true in the Black community. There's this, it's like this trend of like spreading your seed as far as it can go or something, instead of cultivating your own unit. It's crazy, like.
But it goes deeper as well, you know. Like if we were reading in one of our books yesterday about intergenerational trauma, that if you know, if you have like one parent in a relationship that you know, was like, you know, cheated on their partner, then that actually creates a change in the genes that we passed on for 2 generations, which means that then the 2 generations that come after will be more likely also to cheat. You know, and we see that, like we see it happen, but we don't always literally link it down to like this is a genetic change, you know. And like, you know, until you like, you know, rewrite that and heal that and switch that up in yourself, you're going to be passing that on, you know. So it's deep. Like there's so many layers that we have to work through of these blocks that we have, you know. And also, but I also think, you know, everyone is learning the soul lessons they're meant to learn in their own way, and so people would, you know, would and should do what feels right for them, and you know, and just
with the knowledge they have.
Yeah, with the knowledge they have. Yeah.
Right. You know, we have really no rites of passage too. You know, and dealing with manhood and, you know, womanhood. So it's like, I think, you know, us growing up, there's no real masculine presence like that, you know. So it's like, just to be able to exude that. And again, you know, to me, when you live a life of order, even in monogamy, like, I mean, that's just what we choose, right? That's our paths. I'm not judging anyone that wants to do anything else. That's just something that keeps me grounded, you see? So, you know, but to exude out that masculine presence and that femininity, I mean, I just see so many benefits to when you deal with one person, especially when you're equally yoked and you have goals, you have things that you want to build on. Like, y'all probably want to build a healing center. Who knows? Like, y'all probably want to do a lot. Yeah. And I ain't gonna lie, maybe in the future, I definitely like to link with y'all sometime in the future, because I am in line with the same type of work. You know, I am. My queen is as well. She's working on that. I'm actually I want to go back to school for acupuncture and a few things. So, you know, I do see myself having like a clinic, and I do kind of align with where our purpose could maybe in the future, you know, link.
Yeah.
And my father's from London too, you see. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He moved to the Bahamas and fell in love with a Bahamian gal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, man.
Well, we probably should go back to our baby soon, I think, bro. But it's been so lovely to
awesome.
With you. Unless you had anything like last questions that you wanted to ask us, or?
I don't know. I feel like, you know, I got a lot out of y'all, and, you know, because I just wanted to ask proper questions, you know, to really get y'all exuding out the value you have, because obviously it's me extracting it out of y'all. If y'all was just sitting, y'all probably have been quiet doing something around the house. You know what I mean? So even to ask proper questions is kind of a skill in and of itself. So
we really appreciate what you've asked and the time you took to look through our work and to pick out what you felt, you know, was aligned for this connection, this call and stuff. And it's been really amazing for us to share. And you know, it also helps us
a pleasure
where we're at and to what we're doing, and to see our reflection through you, you know, which is really beautiful, and it's an honor. So yeah, we give thanks.
All right, definitely, man. It's been a pleasure, man. You know, and for the listeners out there, when we post this video, we're gonna post your website. You know, and then y'all can have future events and stuff like.
We alkalize to realize the body is the temple, water is the source of life. We breathe in life and then we synthesize. This liquid sun will free your glands and begin to decalcify. Peer through your third eye, see through the lies and give your body what it's missing. We dehydrated, and that's the human condition. But when you clean the body and believe the body, you set yourself up to receive the body. See, it's a sharp knife, that's the water of life. It's like a sword cutting parasites down the sides. It takes a certain kind of faith to know that you're divine. And if it comes from urethra, then it's alkaline. We serve in truth, and it don't matter how weird it really gets. It's the linchpin ascended masters to initiates. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. You had it inside this whole damn time.